Hello and welcome, it's Boecraft here with a new series. I am playing Kerbal Space Program. It's essentially a game where you launch these little guys here, who are called Kerbins, and you send them into space, where you can get to any world in the whole system. So, let's start our game. And we're gonna start a new one. We're not gonna call it default, we're gonna call it Boecraft. And find a flag. I made a custom flag just for this mission. It's got the YouTube name. Oh, yeah, actually you can see it right there. So that's gonna be our mission flag for this whole endeavor of exploring the stars. Actually here, I want to go back and show, and so essentially when I go into this tracking station, here's the home world called Kerbin, and then we have its moon, which is called Mun, and then a smaller one called Minmus, and then you can explore out this entire system of 7 planets. And I think some of them have like their own moons around them. Oh wait, no, not this one at the least, but yeah, so there's a lot of different worlds one can visit. So currently I have nothing out there in the outer spaces because I have nothing launched because we just started it. Alright, so let's build ourselves here a rocket. Let's go with a command pod Mark 1. It's a one-person thing. And then, or actually no, let's be smart about this and let's send up like a satellite up into orbit first, so then we can know like kind of what's out there. Let's get something like that, and a different little satellite module. In utility, we want to get some science whiz-waz into this stuff, so I need to go into structural and attach something like this onto the satellite, so then we can add in a big, or actually here, no, let's leave off the big battery idea for just a split second. Let's just have 2 of these batteries actually installed, so we don't really need that part on it just yet. So now we have 2 large batteries, and now we're gonna need solar panels on this little guy. Let's get like 8 of these satellites on, just to make it look all cool, I guess. More or less weird. Not as much cool, but oh well. You can do anything with this, or almost anything. You really can't eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on this program, which is sad. I wish I could, even though I don't like peanut butter and jelly. Well, I like peanut butter, but not jelly, and I'm just rambling off again, as I always do in a video. Okay, now we have a decent amount of solar panels installed, and we got batteries. So now let's install some science whiz-waz into this stuff. So let's get here a long-range antenna on just one of these things. Let's make sure it's on right, because it's sphere, so it can easily be wrong. Or actually no, this thing is only going to be in the orbit of Kerbin, so we really don't need a long range. Let's just put in here some short-range antennas and maybe like install them right there. Ooh, yes. Alright, install them right in between some of these solar panels. And what else can we get here? An accelerometer. I guess that's kind of important because we want to know how much acceleration these Kerbins are going to have to be dealt with, I don't know, upon launch. So let's get a couple of those guys installed. Alright, nice. And then what else do we have here? A barometer. Okay, so let's get some of those, because basically what a barometer does, for those who don't know, it measures the amount of pressure in the atmosphere. So we kind of want to know that information as well for these little Kerbins, whether or not if they would explode or not in space. So let's just attach 2 of them right there. And then what's this thing? A negative gravity detector. It's a fake make-believe thing as far as I'm aware of, so Okay, let's just install that right beneath the barometer, I guess. Alright, and then what's next? A too hot thermometer. Alright, let's get 4 of those and install those on the main circular bit, or the main spherical bit. Alright, and then there's our satellite. Let's actually name this spacecraft right now. Let's call it like the Kerbin First Observation Satellite, or KFOS. Or it could just be FOS, because K's can be silent. Alright, so now that's our satellite. Now we need to develop here our launching system. What we really want is something like a decoupler, a small decoupler that I can't seem to attach on there. So I guess we'll need to get a part like that, and then we can get our decoupler in. It's gonna look a little bit weird right there, but oh well. And then we can have that expansion bit, and go into control and get an advanced SAS module, and get some of these RCS thruster blocks that I've gotten from a mod. I just learned how to do modding yesterday, which was kind of fun. Actually, I haven't had this game for all that long, but I'm learning every day on how to be better on playing this game, so who knows, maybe in this series we'll be able to get to the moon, or to Mun, not the moon, or we can go all the way out to like far away planets and stuff. Okay, so now we got SAS module, which will help us with steering, and we also have RCS maneuvering thrusters and RCS thruster tanks. Alright, so now we are looking pretty good so far for this rocket, so let's just put that way up there. And I'm not really planning for this satellite to really come back down to Kerbin, so that's kind of why I'm building it like this. So let's get here decoupler in there, and let's get, where's the fuel tank that I want? There it is. Let's get one of these giant fuel tanks in, and one of these little puny liquid engines in. And this will be the stage that'll help us stabilize our orbit. Now, you know what, I'm just going to grab here a lot of these decouplers, and then just throw them off to the side here, because I know I'm going to need here a good couple of those. Okay, back to propulsion. Well, let's get a decoupler in, and now I want 2 of these large tanks in like so, and then get one of these engines right here, a slightly stronger, more powerful engine, which will help us get up to altitude after the first stage has gone, which is what we are going to build next. We need to go into structural and get a stack tri-coupler, which will essentially give us like 3 tanks or whatever, 3 thingies, I guess is what one can say. Set symmetry to 3. Let's get 2 of these large tanks in. Man, this rocket's looking real tall. Alright, and then get some of these liquid engines in. Alright, well, I guess I have a couple of extra of those, but oh well. We need to go into structural and get one of these strut connectors, because otherwise then the rocket has the slight chance of ripping itself apart. And now let's get another set of those installed. Okay, so now this lower stage should be stable. And now we want to get some of these radial... Actually, wait. Let's skip that here for just a split second and go into aerodynamics. And let's get like a standard canard, which will be like our little fins at the bottom to help us steer in the atmosphere. I think that rhymed, I don't think so. Alright, now let's get some of these, like a different type of decoupler. There's so many different types of like decoupler like devices in this game. Alright, and the reason why I used that type of decoupler is because I'm going to install some solid rocket boosters onto the side of this thing, and get another set in. Are they even? No. I want them to be a bit even. Alright, that'll work, I guess. Alright, and now we'll need some of these nose cones for aerodynamics. Alright. And now, this should be our final rocket for FOS, or KFOS, or whatever we're going to name this probe. Well, actually, it's already been named, just pronouncing it is going to be a bit wonky. Okay, so now, I have a random set of rocket boosters that are going to launch out of order, so we want to move that down there. So now, our first stage will involve... Okay, I'm having, like, decoupling issues. I'm having issues with my staging, which is over here on which action occurs when, on, like, when to decouple and when to launch the engines, so... I want to move these 3 engines down to there, so when we detach the solid rocket boosters, these 3 engines down here at the bottom will instantly light. And then I also want to do that from stage 1 to stage 2, but on the final one I'm going to let the separation engine ignition be completely separated. So then, because we might not have the need to light that engine instantly after stage separation. So now our rocket should be good. Alright, now let's hit launch and let's send this baby into orbit. Alright. And here we are on the launch pad on Kerbin with our little satellite way up at the top. Okay, now let's turn SAS on so we have stability on liftoff, and then we'll just hit spacebar to launch. And then we'll throttle up for the next stage. Oh man, look at that beauty. Taking off of that launch pad into space. Alright, this launch is probably going to take a while, so I'll probably have a skip sequence somewhere in the middle, but if I don't, I'm just going to continue on talking. Okay, we're about to separate the stage. Stage 1 is primed and ready. And now, we are out of fuel, hit space, and there we go. Now we're off. And then there goes the solid rocket boosters back down to the planet below. Okay, so now what I want to do is turn off SAS and then start tilting this rocket over so we can get some horizontal velocity for orbit, so we can get into orbit. Alright. I'm just a complete total nerd, and my rocket is rotating, which is something I don't really want it to do. Turn SAS back on. Uh-oh, we might have a problem. Let's turn on RCS for added stability. Have our little maneuvering thrusters, get our rocket right back to where it was. The atmosphere is beginning to get real thin for those fins, but hopefully we'll be able to get this thing into orbit, which would be really nice for a first episode, get a rocket into orbit already. So, let's see how much of that RCS fuel we have. I'm just going to shut RCS off because we pretty much stabilized the rocket now. And we really want to save that RCS maneuvering fuel for whenever we're done with our launch. Okay, so now let's turn our, should we, oh whoops, our rocket is really beginning to pitch over. Let's just do that because I guess part of our maneuver, what I was just about to do, already happened, which is very convenient. Currently we are 2 minutes and 50 seconds into the launch by our little counter up here in the upper left corner. And that orbit is really beginning to expand already, but our first stage fuel is about to die. And there we go. We have now successful launch of the second stage. First stage is now falling back to the planet. Essentially what our first stage is going to fly and land over here onto this little peninsula, whilst the rest of the rocket right now is going to hurl itself all the way out into orbit. Second stage might crash into the planet as well. I don't really know. Let's start really bringing this rocket down into the horizontal. We want to get some of that horizontal speed going, so then we can achieve orbit at a lower altitude, because we really don't want to be orbiting around near Mun for the most part. So, okay, how high is that? Some 200,000, or, well, 200 kilometers above the surface. I accidentally hit a time warp button, but it did nothing, which is good. Alright, let's now bring this rocket into the full horizontal for our final push to orbit. We might not even need our topmost stage, which would be very nice, but then again, it would be a real waste of money if we had currency on this thing. Alright, actually, you know what, I'm gonna bring up here my nav ball right there, and I'm gonna throttle down. So now our engines have completely stopped. I'm going to shut off RCS right now. And now we're just going to let this rocket sit and idle for a while until we get to the apoapsis or apogee. Actually, I'm just going to say apoapsis, which is a weird word. I'm going to get the rocket all the way up to the apoapsis and then throttle up again, and that will stabilize our orbit. So, and one thing that is very useful is I can hit this time warp key, and we are already in space, so which is very nice. Let's just take a good look at our orbit and our current status of our ship, because we really want to get this thing timed out just right, even though there is some margin for error, but our orbit probably won't be the best as it could be. So, alright, looks like we're getting close to the to the apogee or apoapsis. I really need to say one or the other. Alright, now let's slow down the time warp, and zoom in a little bit on our spacecraft. Turn off SAS, turn back on RCS, and start getting this rocket down into position. Alright, so now we want it to point in the direction of forward. Get that all ready. Come on, go down and go right there. Alright, beautiful. Actually, that's pretty spot on. Alright, let's turn off RCS and throttle up right at the apoapsis. Alright, and now if you notice, the back part of our orbit is now going to expand and expand and expand some more until we achieve full orbit. We're about to get there. Boom. We now have a periapsis or perigee. I think that's how I pronounce that. Periapsis? Yeah, periapsis. And now our orbit is really beginning to expand. Throttle down. Alright. We have now achieved a pretty nice orbit. It's a bit elliptical or oval shaped, but you know. Look, we're in orbit. Lovely. So now we can just jettison that stage, prime up that stage, which now we no longer need. I'm actually very surprised we didn't used up all the fuel in that stage. And now let's jettison that stage, and let's keep our maneuvering stage on for now. And my cat is doing something with the window right behind the computer screen. Alright, we are now in orbit with our first satellite. We have gathered quite a bit of data for when we launch our first Kerbin into space. And I think this is a pretty good end for our first episode. So, this is Boecraft, and I bid you all farewell on your life's journeys and adventures. Thanks so much for watching.